Welcome back to the GLF 2019 here at Accra. I'm Natasha Elkington, your television host for the next 2 days. And this afternoon, as we're coming to the end of day one, I have the pleasure of speaking with Wanjira Mathai. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to see you again.
Lovely
yes.
to see you.
Thank you. So I understand that you were part of the opening for the AFR, opening plenaries forums, right? For AFR 100 and the GLF.
That's right.
Please share with us what happened.
Well, it's exciting. It's an exciting time for both the Africa Restoration Movement and, of course, the global restoration movement. And it's wonderful that they're going on one after the other.
Right.
We had the partners meeting for the Africa Restoration movement, which basically is an extremely ambitious target to restore 100 million hectares by 2030.
Right.
This is part of the larger global ambition from the New York Declaration on Forests, SDG 15, Bond Challenge, that we have to restore 350 million hectares by 2030.
Right.
Now, that's a global ambitious target, but Africa has been bold, as Africa is these days. And we have this target of 100 million hectares. This was in 2015. What's the good news was that today we have close over 113 million hectares committed.
Right.
This is from all these 28 African countries. The biggest opportunity yet challenge perhaps is how do we move now from those commitments to implementation.
Right.
We've been saying that. In fact, last time we talked, we were still talking about implementation and what does that look like? How do we monitor? How do we know we are winning? What's different this time for me, and I think for everybody, was the urgency for action.
Right.
We have 10 years between now and 2030.
Right.
We've got to get moving. We've got to intensify. We've got to make it real in all the countries that have made these commitments.
Right.
10 years is not a long time. A decade will find us, and a decade, interestingly, Agenda 2030, that is the SDGs, there are lots of agendas that are going to be due in 2030. And we cannot be reporting that we've moved the target or something has changed.
Right.
What does it take to meet those targets? My personal hope and ambition sits with young people.
Okay.
Africa is an extremely young continent.
Yes.
We know, at least in our country, Kenya, we have 80% of the population under the age of 35. That's a hugely young demographic. We also know that by 2050, 50% of Africa will be under the age of 25.
Wow.
It is a hugely young and younger population coming. They will usher us into the future.
Right.
What does it look like today to involve them, to engage them in real and meaningful ways? I think we've done a lot of talking about youth engagement. We even bring them in, and I had an opportunity of meeting the AFR 100 youth ambassadors, some of the brightest young people I have ever had the privilege of meeting.
Amazing.
They're focused, they're ambitious, they're innovative. They have ideas that we are not even ready for.
Wow.
They are operating at a level of consciousness we haven't seen before. We have got to bring them in and allow for real, meaningful engagement. And that means it will cost us to engage them because it's time, it's their energies, it's their talent, it's their time, and they need to get in and bring those energies into the movement. It is exactly what our movement needs. If we don't engage them now, then we cannot possibly meet the 2030 target. So I'm excited about the possibility, which is really beautifully represented by these 5 youth ambassadors. We need 25 and 50 of them, perhaps one or more from each continent, so that we can accelerate, we can be challenged by them in ways that we hadn't expected. They said to us, which is the first time I've had young people say, we have agency. Don't misunderstand youth to mean lack of agency. We have agency. Let us employ our agency.
Wow.
That's the great opportunity.
And do you think that there is support behind them, that our older generation are support? I mean, it's good to talk, like you said, but we need to rally behind them if we're going to make this change and leave them with a sustainable planet.
I think we have the capacity.
Yeah.
We just have to translate that capacity to the will and to real engagement. My personal commitment to them was that I will engage the Global Restoration Council and create a forum that brings them in, that allows them to monitor what's going on in their countries, and in that way also coach and mentor them to learn what it means to engage in the climate change process.
Right.
At COP, when we go to COP, it is an extremely complex process to navigate, but we need to begin getting them into the rhythm of how to navigate those international conferences, how to navigate national processes, how to really be part of those processes today, because these processes are theirs to deliver.
Right.
And we have put and made these commitments, but they're the ones who will deliver them. And I think we have a great opportunity to harness their brilliance and bring them right into understanding how to analyze. How is Kenya doing really towards those targets? We've made a commitment to restore 5 million hectares by 2030. What does that really mean? Where are those 5 million hectares? Who's holding us to account?
Exactly.
Who's monitoring? Who's checking?
Right.
How are we doing so far? Who's losing sleep over it? I think young people will lose sleep over it, and they're going to light fires under us to begin to move faster to implement.
Yes, because when I've spoken to other people, it's like we have to accelerate. We've talked about everything, but now it's about acceleration, because the time that we have is very short.
Yeah,
and yes, and children and youth are, I mean, it's their planet. Yeah, and we have to listen to them. We're not, it's not seen and not heard in our generation, right? It's a different world right now.
It's a different world
right
now, and I love it.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Is there anything else you want to add that you think is important as your message to maybe our older generations in terms of supporting the youth?
I think the biggest thing now is that we resource this. I mean, there's money out there, but somehow we put it in places that are not reaching young people. They're struggling. One of the young youth ambassadors from the Democratic Republic of Congo, Joseph, took 5 days to get here.
Wow.
5 days. How many of us would get on a journey of 5 days to come to the Global Landscapes Forum or the AFR 100 Partners Meeting? He's here, he's engaged, he's focused, he's raring to go. It took him 5 days to get here.
Amazing.
Visa manenos, visa challenges, and it was still not enough for him to abort the flight or abort the trip. He came. That to me is metaphoric of what they're about.
Amazing. This is Joseph that I interviewed earlier. Amazing. Yes, I did. I interviewed him just a few minutes before you.
Yeah.
Amazing. Inspiring, really.
Very.
We have to wake up. You know, it's time. And they've rang the bell or beaten the drums, I guess. Indeed. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I know you have a flight to catch very soon. And then we'll catch up soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you too.